Oh, we don't go to 7.
That's how the episode starts. Oh, we don't go to 7.
All right, it's almost the weekend.
Klaxon.
It's almost the weekend. I'm here with my best bud, JKFT. How are you?
Oh my god, you remembered the F. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm doing real good, and I'll never forget that F.
Oh yeah,
Felix is low key one of my favorite names.
yeah, hell yeah, me too. Before you went into that, I was like, maybe I should tell him to edit this part out because now everyone has my full legal and Christian name as a part of listening to them. But the Christian name part has no bearing on any legal documents whatsoever, and so it's fine. Everyone can know. But yeah, hell yeah, man. How's your week been, and have you been playing anything?
Yeah, my week's been real good. We've started putting the fire on in the living room where
Oh
I'm
hell
staying at the moment, and I've got enough energy to get up there and read books by the fire. It's been really nice.
yeah,
Uh,
that's as the kids would say, of a whole vibe.
yeah, it's a great vibe.
Yeah.
And I've been taking my Switch up there and playing Disco Elysium.
Oh
Dude, that game is so good.
yeah, it's incredible.
Every scrap of that game is brilliant.
Yeah,
And Kim is just
yeah, best
far
boy.
and away the best sidekick
Yeah.
ever. Like, fuck Elizabeth, throw Ellie in the bin. That chick
Kim,
from Half-Life, Alex,
yeah,
demoted.
demoted.
It's
Get
all
her
about
out of here.
yeah, it's all about Kim Kitsuragi.
Yeah, yeah. He is truly best boy. What a champion character. Yeah. I need to go back and finish that game. I was really enjoying it, and yeah, it's just on the back burner, you know.
Yeah,
I almost
yeah.
feel like I need to start again though, you know. I think that's the thing that's like putting me off starting again. Is like, oh, I want to go back and make sure I remember all the choices that I made because if I like pick it up, it's been like years since I played it last. So I don't remember what I was doing or what choices I made.
Oh, it's been years. So have you played with the voice acting?
No, 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 no. I only noticed the voice acting when
Oh.
I tried to introduce Jamie to it earlier on this year. I was like, oh, what the hell? There's like voices for all the lines now.
Oh, dude, the voice acting is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
it's right up there with Hades.
Mm,
It's up there with the best.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool that they managed to pull something like that off after releasing the game. That's very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And man, something I can't get over is just how good all of the content is. You
Mm,
know, thinking about a game like The Witcher 3 where the majority of the content is great and a lot of the side quests are amazing, but every now and again, like the main quest is just, it's good, it's above average, but it's nothing to write home about. But in Disco, everything is amazing. I
yeah.
haven't I haven't come across a single character that hasn't added something to the world or the atmosphere or made I didn't want to say his name then. I didn't want to spoil it because you don't figure out his name for a while.
Yeah.
But the character you play, like everyone seems to give him some ammunition to either just go down into the depths of despair or feel really sorry for himself. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
it's such a great ride.
Yeah. Truly, truly. So have you finished it yet?
No, so it's fucking massive, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so surprised at how big it is every time I think I'm a little bit closer. I discover a new area and it's got heaps of new characters and new things to find and do. It's wild. Yeah, I don't know how many hours I've played because the save file just states the time of day it is. So I
Yeah.
reckon I've been playing for maybe a month now. I reckon I've played for at least 15 hours.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't even seem like I'm at the halfway point, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a point in that game, and I think that's where I stopped when stuff opens up a little bit more, and I got a little bit maybe overwhelmed, and that's why I stopped. I can't remember exactly why, but I remember being like, "There's this whole area over here, and I need to explore it," and like
Yeah,
pixel by pixel explore it. You know, like that game really is like make sure you look at everything and talk to everyone, and
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I'm loving it. What about you, dude?
it's awesome.
What's fresh?
What's fresh? Well, I had a pretty full-on busy week. We're getting to like the pointy end of pre-production now, and so
Oh,
it's
really?
a yeah, it came around so fast, and so yeah, we're like getting final documents together to give the publisher to like give us money, and
No
um
shit. That's
yeah,
exciting. Or is it exciting or nerve-wracking?
it's a bit of both. I'm pretty confident, but it's also like, what if it doesn't happen?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and I've just been doing heaps of techie animation stuff for work. So there's like the actual creative side of animation is easy and fun for me, and I've got so much experience doing it. So it's just like
Hmm.
I can almost turn my brain off at a certain point and just enjoy myself. But I've been doing so much tech stuff recently, so it's just been like long, very heavy focus days where like I need to focus a lot for long periods of time, which I'm
Right.
not used to. so,
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an interesting challenge. I think that's why I was so tired last night. I went to bed at like 8:30 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, feeling refreshed. I haven't really been playing anything to be honest. I'm a little bit of hunt. I played some Fortnite during the week.
Oh, I've got some curiosity around Fortnite. I've never played
Yeah,
it.
yeah, dude, it's actually a great game.
It
Um,
looks really fun.
Yeah, it's an incredibly fun. It's probably one of the most fun games that you can pick up today for free.
No shit.
Yeah, it's just a real wild blast. Like you boot it up and like Naruto's there and Rick from Rick and Morty's there,
What the
and
fuck? That's
and like
that's wild.
Alien and Ridley from Ridley Scott's Alien is there, and you're
What?
I can't remember the event or the thing that they've got going on right now, but it's another ridiculously high value IP is floating around in the game doing stuff.
Dude.
Yeah, it's just wild, and like all of the Star Wars, they're doing Star Wars right now, so you can like run around
Of
and find
course.
like Luke's what's it called, lightsaber on the ground. You can become like a stormtrooper or play as Kylo Ren. It's just nuts, man. They've got so much wild stuff in that game that's just it's just there. And like the stuff that I was playing with last time was still there when I picked up the game again, which was like really nice. So I've
Wow.
got this. I don't know if you know him. He's like a pop artist. His name is Kraus, I think, or Cross or
Uh,
something.
yeah, okay. Doesn't
You,
ring a bell, but go on.
you might recognize his figurines. He does these figurines of like they kind of look like teddy bears, and on one side their organs are exposed, and on the other side their like fur is visible. So it's like
Oh, that's fucking cool.
yeah, real pop arty. And so I play like a course figurine in that game. It's a real crazy trippy time. And yeah, I played it with a friend in a couple of rounds. And there's just so much new stuff in that game since I played last time. So typically in Fortnite, you can like collect materials and build structures. Like that was the whole kind of thrust of the
Right.
original game,
Yep. Yep.
or the original thing that went crazy viral and everyone played. And so like gun encounters are this whole like multifaceted what would you call it, encounter where you're like trying to shoot the enemy and they're trying to build a structure to defend themselves, and you're trying to build a structure higher than them so you can get height advantage. Like there's all this stuff that goes on, with building,
Right. Right.
and you need to have materials. So that's like a part of the meta is like as you explore collecting guns, you should also be trying to collect some materials to like build structures when you fight.
Dude, that
But they
sounds
just
like so much fun.
yeah, but they just added this mode that's no build mode, and so everyone who plays games like Apex Legends or Hunt or
Hmm.
other like Call of Duty are really keen on playing Fortnite now because building was the thing that was stopping them from being interested in it because they thought,
Oh,
you get into an encounter with someone who knows how to build and you just are at such a disadvantage as a new player
right.
because you're
Yep.
like, even if I am a great shot, they're just gonna defend themselves with building way better than I can and probably win.
Yeah. Yep.
And so
Yep.
yeah, they added no build, and it's freaking sick. You don't have to
Oh,
build.
oh, that's
Uh,
great.
yeah, yeah. So very fun, very cool. I'm gonna go play some more at some stage, but yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, sick. I'd love to give it a go.
Yeah,
Maybe we can jump in at one point with Damo.
yeah, on Sundays. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
It's a real casual fun time, and I think they put a lot of bots in the lobbies as well. So like, especially when you're starting out. So when you first drop into a map, you don't get obliterated by like high level players. It's like
Oh, that's
heaps of
nice.
low level bots to like get you situated.
Yeah, well that's an interesting idea going back to our talk around balance and difficulty and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the multiplayer game has that challenge where they've got to get around that kind of thing, and bots seem like a pretty good way of easing the player in, really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think the tricky part is it's like false, what would you call it? Like ego to the player, so that they're like, oh, I'm so good at this game, and then they get into a game with like actual players, and they're like, oh no, I am not good at this game. I think
Yeah.
Fortnite does a good job at it because their bots are reasonably intelligent, and you know, you'll still beat them, but if you just aren't paying attention, then you probably die.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah, it's sort of
So,
gentle.
so is this your first time playing Fortnite, or
No,
have
I played it shortly after release, and then I played it again last year, I think, with some friends that picked it up, or the year
Oh,
before,
yeah.
I can't remember. And then I played it again last week. So
Okay, so is it safe to say Fortnite won't appear on your list today?
it is safe to say that Fortnite won't appear on my list today.
All right. So I'm really excited for this episode.
I know you are,
I've
yeah.
honestly been waiting for ages to hear your top 10. So we
I love.
want to.
Oh, by the way, I just realized we're on episode 10, and we're doing a top 10 video games of all time list.
Bro,
Did you do
that's
that
what. Yeah,
on
of
purpose?
course, of course.
You probably mentioned that in the message to me, but I was just too whacked out of my mind with work to even register that was what was going on.
Yeah, look, you know what happens when we get to the 100th episode. No, I'm kidding.
Oh god.
But I am a huge list person. Love making lists. Don't like reading other lists because generally, unless they're made by a single person and they're subjective, the lists are garbage. Like
Yeah.
if you see that IGN top 100 best video games list that
Yeah,
came
it
out,
sucks.
and they've got all these prerequisites like its impact when it came out, is it still fun to play, how does it
Yeah,
fit
yeah.
into its own genre? And because it's put together by multiple people, even with those prerequisites, it's just garbage. Like GoldenEye is on that list.
I
You telling
know.
me GoldenEye is fun to play today? It's
That's a
not.
shit game.
It was shit 10 years ago, and it's even shitter now. So
Yeah.
don't be coming at me with GoldenEye in your list.
I grew up in a very sheltered childhood home, and so I wasn't even allowed to play GoldenEye because I had blood in it and guns.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
that might
okay.
influence some of my list choices as well, actually. Who
Ooh,
knows?
okay. Well, I noticed in the construction of my list that it's not very nostalgic at
Mhm.
all.
Right.
It hardly has any nostalgia in it, if any. But man, just the idea of like constructing a list is so exciting for me.
Yeah.
I've got a close group of friends that are like my list friends,
Yeah, right.
and like it was mainly based around music, but we would just come up with new ideas to make lists around music, and then like we'd do like best of the decade from 2000 to 2009,
Yeah, right.
and we do like a top five maybe each, and so we'd have dinner and then have a couple of drinks and then like put on our
Ah,
top fives and hang out, and it was such a good time.
that sounds amazing. Yeah, hell
Yeah. And this, my friend, is the video game version.
yeah. Dude.
But yeah, I just want to say for all our listeners, this is purely subjective. So these are the games that we enjoy the most. These are our favorites. This isn't by any means a definitive best games ever released list. Like
No.
being objective with lists is lame, and it's just
Yep.
it's really hard to do if futile. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear what you've got.
Yeah, so how did you want to format this? Did you want to go from, we'll take it in turns to do our 10, or should we just each go through our lists in turn?
Uh,
Like you do
I,
10 to 1 and I do 10 to 1.
Well, the way me and my friends made playlists is we'd have like my number five, someone else's number five, someone else's number five, then
Yeah,
my
got it.
number four. So yeah, I
Let's do it
reckon
that
I
way.
reckon we do that. And it depends how much we want to talk about these games, but I kind of don't want to stick to the time constraint. Like if we get to an hour and we're only up to number 5, then part 2's next week. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
okay. Yeah. All right, let's just go for it and see. No, I'm not gonna go hold back on any tangents at this list thing.
Oh,
you pull us
hell
in,
no.
so we can just
Hell
go
no.
wild.
Yeah,
Well, strap in, everyone. You're about to get talked at about things that we objectively like and that probably aren't relevant to you. And, and you're going to enjoy it, all right? Because that's how it works.
All right, hit me with
All
number
right.
10, baby.
All right. Hang on. My list doesn't have numbers. It's just thing. So hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh God.
7, 8, 10.
We've
Okay.
got a list creation noob over here.
I know. I just put it in a text document and it doesn't have numbers. Okay, it's fine. So number 10 is Titanfall 2.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because straight off the bat, we've
We've got a shared item.
exactly. Oh man, so tell me what you like about it.
Okay, so I never played Titanfall 1. And I've like ever since playing Titanfall 2, I've actually had no interest in playing Titanfall 1. That's how good I feel Titanfall 2 is.
Right.
It is, when it came out, I feel like the first-person shooter genre had kind of staled a little bit. I mean, it's always been stale almost ever since the very beginning, but it was especially stale at the time of Titanfall 2's release.
Yeah.
And it just put forward such a high-quality, interesting, varied exploration on doing first-person shooting, right? Like, it wasn't just like run around and like shoot the dudes as they come out of the hallway. It was like you've got this sort of like fun not speed running, although a little bit speed runny, free running style. Like you can run on walls and you can slide under things and you can jump. And could you double jump in that game? I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember either, amazingly. I
Yeah.
have many hours in that game, but you're 100% right. Like, the movement made that game.
Yeah.
And any game I played afterwards that was, like, in the first-person perspective,
Yeah.
it felt like I was walking in molasses.
Yeah, exactly. So you
What?
built up all of this like muscle memory and like enjoyment around the movement in that game, and then everything afterwards. And I think that's like such a staple of like a high quality game. Like when you do it, and it's like, oh, now everything else has changed as a result of this thing.
Yeah, it's just strange how it takes video games as a whole to take note of things like this. Like when you consider movement in the first person and look at Titanfall 2, and consider movement in the third person and look at Sekiro, like after those games come out, that should be the blueprint. The movement for characters has never been as perfect as it has been in those two games. And like when a first person shooter comes out and it's not as like smooth and slippery as Titanfall 2, it's just like, oh man, this game feels like it's already missing something.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really tricky thing, right? So you've got different types of first-person shooter games that some want you to feel slow and heavy, and some want you to feel, like Doom, for
that's
example.
true.
The movement in Doom is kind of iconic, and it's like being copied to a certain extent, and that's when it kind of becomes, when it doesn't evolve, it just sort of, so like redoing it to the standard is one thing, but like changing it up is a whole nother thing. And that's the second reason as to why I think Titanfall 2 is incredible, is because they added the Titans as like a layer of, experience to that game that is just so special. So like in Titanfall 2, you can use these giant mechs, not even giant, they're sort of like, I don't know, 4 people tall, I guess, maybe 3 people tall, and
Yeah.
they all have different abilities, and throughout the story you encounter this semi-sentient BT, or semi-sentient mech called BT, and he becomes like your best buddy, and it's a real buddy cop style thing, so yeah, it's such a cool self-contained short-ish story. I think the campaign only goes for like 6 hours, right?
Yeah, like 5 or 6 hours. And
It's pretty
for a game that is mostly a multiplayer experience, that's all it needs to be. We don't need a 12, 18-hour experience tacked on. I feel they really just had a bunch of episodes almost, and every episode that lasts over the 6 hours introduces a new mechanic or a new style of gameplay, and it's just fresh for the whole 6 hours.
Correct. Yeah, they keep introducing new things, so they add new titans, and they introduce this sort of like boss rush thing where they're like, oh, there's all of these big dudes, and they all have their own types of titans, and you got to go track them down.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's right. You're tracking
yeah,
down the like.
captains or whatever they are.
Oh yeah, the captain. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean.
love that. Yeah, it's such a video game style thing to do, to be like, here's the bad guys, and they all get real tough, and then the toughest guys at the end, and you're like, hell yeah, let me go, let me have them. It's such a video game style thing to do, but they do it beautifully in this game, and they keep evolving. Like you said, they add new mechanics and stuff as they go along, which is so cool. We'll talk about adding mechanics a little bit later on in my list as well, I think, and probably in yours too. But yeah, it's that
Yeah.
exploration of the medium, I think, that does it so beautifully. So it wasn't just like you shoot dudes from the start to the end. It's like at the start it introduces new stuff. You know, it's like, okay, you've got a melee, you've got a slide. Okay, now go kill these dogs. You know, we're not just going to be fighting human enemies in this game. There's like creatures as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now you collect stuff. Okay, we can collect things in this game. Okay, collecting things actually has a utility. It's to power on your mech. And then now you're in a mech. And it's like, whoa. It's that first hour's worth is just like hit after hit after hit. And it just keeps drip feeding you new things throughout the rest of the experience. I fucking love that game so much.
Yeah. That
And
game
then that
also.
doesn't even mention multiplayer. My God.
Yeah, so like I
Yeah.
mean the multiplayer in that game, I feel like for me nothing has come close. Like
Yeah, right.
I played it a lot and I got to the point where like my kill death ratio was like 1 to 11 and I was just
Holy
doing
shit.
so well and
Yeah.
I don't know why I stopped playing honestly, but that was like the last video game I played for a couple of years. Like
Yeah.
I finished up on Titanfall after Dark Souls 3 came out, and I just didn't play games until the pandemic. And like it
Yeah.
kind of put me in that position where I was like, well, now is the time.
Yeah. Yep, yep. Totally. Yeah, so that's my number 10. I remember
Beautiful
playing
pick.
the multiplayer with you. Like I brought my PlayStation or whatever over to your house, and I think Daniel brought
Yeah.
his too. We all had a sesh that one time. I think the servers were pretty dead, or there was some issues. I can't remember. Something stopped it from being as amazing as it could have been.
Yeah, I think the servers were pretty slow. Like that would have been maybe in 2017,
Yeah,
maybe even like 6 months to a year after it came out, and it really didn't have a resurgence until it was on PlayStation Plus.
yeah,
I don't exactly remember when that might have been though. Maybe 2019 or even 2020.
yeah,
And then like jumping back in felt so good. Like the
yeah.
matches, you're in a match really quickly and oh yeah, love that game.
I I would love Respawn if they are listening, which they are not. But I would love Respawn if they had any sort of urge at all to consider doing a Titanfall 3, to please just go ahead with it, because a modern Titanfall game
Mm,
I would be sick, and it would just revive that sort of community of Titanfall players, I think, in a really cool way.
yeah,
um
yeah. And it's kind of seen critical acclaim.
yeah,
It's often on FPS lists and best game ever lists and all that
yeah,
kind of thing. Like people love this game. The fans want it.
yeah, the fans want it. It's just the popularity, like it slowly
Mm,
dribbles off. And I think you got things like Fortnite and like Apex Legends, which is by the same developer, that sort of kill the momentum of the online aspect, which is kind of the longevity aspect of this game. So yeah, it's a tricky thing. I think they're probably
mm,
doing what they want to do at this stage with Apex Legends, but who
mhm.
knows? Maybe they've got some other adjacent team working on Titanfall 3. That would be something else.
Yeah. Oh man. And Titanfall 2 is often like $4.
Oh yeah, it's always
On
on
the
sale.
PlayStation Store or even getting a physical copy, it just seems like it's incredibly cheap all the time.
Yeah, cheaper than a coffee, literally these days. Coffee's like five
Yeah.
bucks now. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep, agreed. And I
yeah.
think
So
we'd be remiss not to mention the amazing time travel level in that
oh
game.
yeah, yeah,
So just quickly to cap off your number 10, there's this
yep,
level and you find this device and you flick it's very quick to activate. You flick between the present and the past and you can enter combat in both time periods at once, and you've got to like jump between the two time periods, and you can use it to dodge grenades, and oh, it's awesome.
It's genius. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you'd be in the boardroom with like the game director or whatever, and they talk about the concept, and you'd be like, that is so cool, but we'd never be able to pull that off. And
Yeah.
man, let me tell you, they pulled that shit right off. It was so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like it shouldn't be doable. You're right. Like there was jumping between the time zones so effortlessly was extremely cool.
Yeah.
Real multiverse shit, but not that sort of. Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
Sick.
what is your number 10?
All right, my number 10 is the most recent game I've played that makes my list,
Hmm.
and it's the only game I haven't played at least twice.
Okay.
So The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh,
Um,
wow, very nice.
yeah, it landed for me in a lot of ways, and the main way was the way they told the story. I think when video games focus on telling a story through one character's perspective, that's all good and well, but it doesn't seem like it's a conscious decision to do that. It's just kind of the format that everyone assumes when they make a video game or tell a story.
Mm,
And
yeah.
something that you see in movies a lot and in books in a lot, and basically every other medium that tells stories is telling stories from different perspectives. And
Yeah.
the the part two just it really embraced that. Like within the first 2 hours, I think you see three different perspectives, and I
Yep.
was just like, all right, this is different to the first one in a pretty major way,
Mm,
and they really embraced it the whole way. And I think it's going to be pretty hard to talk about the good parts of this game without spoiling it. So, spoiler alert, we're
yeah.
gonna.
It is an older, not older, but it is. It came out a while ago now, so I think it's pretty safe to start spoiling this
All
game.
right, maybe we should just have a banner spoiler alert for all the games on this list. If you hear a game you want to play and you haven't played it and it's got a story, just skip ahead. Um, so with this game, man, I knew nothing going in, so I have amazing luck when it comes to spoilers for like movies, TVs,
Mm,
games. I just I just have a black spot for spoilers for some reason. So I played this game, I think it was only 6 months ago now, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't know who you played as. I didn't know if Joel was in it or Ellie. I knew nothing. Um, and throwing it in and having that first 2 hours unfold where you play as Joel at the start, and then you play as Ellie, and then you play as Abby. I was like, oh shit, we've got a lot of moving parts here. And then they kick off the game by killing Joel, and
mm,
it's such an emotional scene, and it really resonated with me because I was like, as a storytelling device, this is great because there's all these conflicting emotions that we bring with us from the first game, where we're like, we saw Joel struggle through a year of bad choices and just trying to survive. And so we've got an emotional attachment to Joel in that regard, but he's
mm.
also a piece of shit and not a model for who anyone should strive to be. And
Yeah.
so when revenge was taken upon him, it for me, like I was a bit removed because I had all the terrible things that he did at the forefront of my mind before,
Mm,
I really liked Joel for whatever reason. So when he died, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be the catalyst for some heavy shit because
yeah.
Ellie has all this unresolved stuff, and she's just all she's known is fucking Joel's psychotic behavior and like
Yeah.
this lust for revenge. And so it just kickstarts this incredibly curated journey into this amazing world. Like the way that game unfolds and the way they embrace a less linear style of exploration And oh man, yeah, it really tickled me in all the right ways.
That's awesome,
Um,
man. Yeah.
and then halfway through, like I've been playing for 16, 18 hours now, and you're coming to this like climactic point with Ellie, and you kind of hit this point in the story where Ellie and Abby have a confrontation, and then it's like 4 days ago, and you wake up as Abby, and I was like, no way! Like I
Yeah.
couldn't believe I was halfway through the game. It
Yeah.
it it felt crazy to me, and that again, that storytelling device of having Abby as the villain and then having you control her, it's just so nice to see. Like, whenever I watch movies or read books and you get the villain's perspective, kind of like I think it was last week or maybe the week before, I was talking about the Fargo TV series
Yep.
where you get so much time with the hitman and it just is so exciting the whole time. And that's how I felt
Mm.
with Abby. Although I didn't like, the hitman in Fargo is a psychopath.
Mm.
He's wearing a mask. He doesn't have any emotions. Whereas Abby seemed really down to earth,
Yeah.
and she had like they all do in this game. They've just like got emotional turmoil up the wazoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I came away from the game just Abby being my favorite character. I thought her half of the game was the most exciting. There are a lot of set pieces, and
Yeah.
she has all these idiosyncrasies, like her being afraid of heights, and I just thought she was one of the most human characters I played in a video game. Um, and when you're getting to the end of that game and you play as Ellie again, and Ellie's living the farm lifestyle, and
Yeah.
she decides she can't go on without getting revenge on Abby, and she gets out of bed and you've got to walk around the house at night. Like I
Mm-hmm.
tried putting her back to bed so many times. I was like,
Yeah.
no, no,
Don't do it,
don't
Ellie.
do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah. Incredible story, incredible game.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully, beautifully said, man. People really struggled. I mean, as far as I could tell, reactionary wise, when the game came out, to with a few different things. So primarily, they struggled with Joel dying because they thought they were going to play as Joel.
Hmm.
And I think, I personally think their decision to kill off Joel in that first act was really smart. I think, like you
Yeah.
said, it gives Ellie just like it gives the whole game like a whole thrust, which was otherwise going to be absent. Like where do you go with this character, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I was sorry to jump in,
oh,
but
you're right.
I was keen to see different stories and characters in the same world,
Yeah,
because we'd spent so much time with Ellie and Joel, and it was a great journey, but like I feel like that world has so much to offer and there's so many stories to be told.
yeah,
And yeah, like you say, that thrust they gave the original characters, and what a way to introduce a set of new characters. Like
yeah,
it just tied everything in so well. But sorry, go on.
yeah. And then the other thing they struggled with, from what I could tell, was that switch to play the antagonist. I think you're
Mm,
right when you were saying how other mediums do a really great job, or they do this a lot. Is they will have you read a section of the book where you're the antagonist for like 5 chapters. Like it's a long, not a
yeah.
short stint of time, or they'll jump back and forth between every chapter or whatever. It's just really common.
Yeah.
And so when this happened in The Last of Us, I don't think because games, like you said, don't do this. When they did it, it
Mm,
was a
mm.
really jarring, sort of almost like first time experience for a lot of people to be like, I'm the bad guy. Like this feels
Right.
wrong. I don't like this. I don't like being this sort of like stronger, more manly female character. There's a whole, issue there,
Oh
right?
my God. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we don't need to get into that here, but
yeah, yeah, we won't do
if
that
if
another time.
people are another time definitely, and if people are
Yeah,
interested, just find James Stephanie Sterling's videos on all the
yeah,
bullshit that the internet, blah blah blah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's Nakey Jakey. Do you know Nakey Jakey?
Nakey Jakey. No, but that is a
Okay.
great name.
Yeah, he does a really great video as to why he didn't like The Last of Us 2, and I think he's
Oh
being a
yeah.
little overly critical in certain parts. But I think it is like a calm dissection of what his issues were with The Last of Us 2, and I agree with quite a few of them. But
Oh
anyway,
cool.
I I really like the way you've got this as number 10. That's such a great pick. I really loved it as well. And again, we're just going to throw in that it has amazing accessibility options, so everyone can play this game. It's great.
Yeah. Shout out to the accessibility options. And there's a game coming up in my list a bit later that has recently introduced accessibility options, and they were inspired by The Last of Us Part 2.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Yeah, hell yeah, man. I'm glad you got to enjoy that game. Did I loan you that game, or did you get it?
Bro, I bought that game brand new for $13.
Oh wow, okay.
you know how you had a piece of news last week around that device with like the crank, and you would get games.
Playdate.
And yeah, and it was like $180 US.
Yeah.
I play a lot of games, right? I don't think I've spent $180 US on video games in like the last 5 years combined.
Yeah.
Like games
Your
are
consumption.
so cheap.
Yeah. Your style of media consumption when it comes to video games is a lot different to some others like myself, where I'm just like, oh, I'll just fucking buy it. $100? All right. Yeah, I'm way more flippant to just jump on the hype train and go ahead and drop some cash on a new thing. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. So yeah, are you done with Last of Us?
I'm done, baby. I'm ready for your number 9. Dude, this is gonna be like a 4-part series. We're fucking
I was just thinking that. I was like, shit, how many parts can we split this into before people go absolutely insane? So my number 9 is Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2? Holy shit. Okay, this is fucking wild. This is wild. I never in a million years would have guessed this would even be in your top 50.
Really?
Tell me your tale.
Oh, wait, no, not Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 1. What am I thinking?
Oh.
I'm thinking that the sequel to Demon Souls. Sorry. Yes, Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Bro. Dude, you had me questioning so many things there.
I never even played Dark Souls 2. I think I played like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, look, it's one of those weird games where the people that love it are really guarded and defensive about it, and it does some things right, but man, it's just not that great of a game. Anyway, Dark Souls
1,
2011, baby. Take me back.
So this is a game that took over our share house, right? This was like truly one of those like all-encompassing. I think I can't remember if we mentioned on this podcast or not, but at some stage one of your uni lecturers called me up and was like, there's this video game in Daz's life. And I was like, yes. And she's like, do you know what it's called? And I'm like, Dark Souls? And she's like, that's right. You need to take something of his. And like basically gave me this like thing where it was like an ultimatum where if you didn't finish your uni tasks, then I got to like destroy something you loved.
Yeah.
It was a whole, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed about that at all. She was such a great lecturer, and
yeah,
she would just ask me, what's up? She's like, why haven't you done this? And I'd be like, I drink a lot and I love this video game. And she'd be like, well, we can sort one of those things out right now. Give me your phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, what a champion. Yeah, so I was playing through it at sort of the same time, but I didn't get to come back and finish it until later on when I was living with Damien. And the reason that it sits at this point in my list is just because it was one of those games that really taught me about the power of overcoming something. And I think it's the same for a lot of people with the Dark Souls series.
Yep.
That it took me like 3 or 4 days of almost playing every day for at least a couple of hours to beat Ornstein and Smaug. Like I struggled I like bashed my head against that boss for so long. And I remember beating them. I don't think I had help. I think it was just me. And
huge.
Yeah, and that's what's so annoying to me about this memory is I remember the feeling, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's not annoying at all, bro. That's where it's at. You know, the technicalities fade, but the emotions stay forever.
Yeah, and so I just remember beating that boss and being like, I can do anything now. Like I am untouchable. Like this game may throw other challenges at me, but after I've beaten this one, there's no there's no greater challenge that can be thrust upon me.
Oh, dude,
Um,
I totally agree, and I think that Ornstein and Schmo fight is just like, it's recognized as one of those great moments in video games for a reason. Like
mm,
it really does challenge so much of you. Like it challenges your patience and your discipline and like how good you are at the game. And oh man, it's just it's beautiful at
yeah,
that precise moment in the game. It's just beautiful.
yeah, and the whole like two bosses at once thing is kind of it can be a little bit ham-fisted at times. Like they'll just give you two of the same boss, or like one
Mm,
slightly like more supportive or lighter dude, and then like a really strong dude. Whereas
mm,
Ornstein and Smaug as like two different styles of boss, they
mm.
complement one another in a really interesting way. They bounce off one another in a really interesting way, and I'm sure there's like lore in there that also makes them being together at that point in time really special. Again, I
Uh,
don't know.
I am ready to divulge that lore to
Yeah,
you right now.
hit me with the lore.
So so the lore goes that Schmo is one of Gwyn's weirdest fucking knights, right? He's called
Okay.
Schmo the Executioner, and
Mhm.
like he basically he was really good at his job, right? Executing right, left, and center. He kicked ass at executions, but eventually he just went way off the deep end and he started eating everyone
Oh,
as the execution. And you know that's gonna fuck a dude up if you just start eating people after killing hundreds of people. It's gonna get weird. Um,
hmm,
and Ornstein was one of Gwyn's chosen knights. You know, he was like one of, I think Gwyn had like four mega knights, you know, like Artorias is one. I can't remember the others. There's a lot of the lore there. If you want to correct me on any of this, you can email us at it's almost the weekend pod at gmail.com.
very good.
Um, so Ornstein was one of Gwyn's favorite knights, and when you fight Ornstein in Dark Souls 1, that's actually an illusion created by Gwendolyn. That's not.
Right.
And you can kind of tell when, if you beat Ornstein first, you verse Super Schmo, and
Right.
he like slaps his hammer down on Ornstein, and there's no blood or anything. Like it
Right.
it it
Okay.
it just like the armor just disappears basically. And if you kill Schmo first, you can see that Ornstein like absorbs him and
Hmm.
becomes super Ornstein. Man, there's a
Yeah.
lot of sh
Yeah, that's all
in
right.
this part.
Ornstein. Ornstein.
um, and so yeah, you fight him as an illusion, and in Dark Souls 3, when you go to fight the Nameless King, which is theorized to be one of Gwyn's sons,
Hmm.
you find Ornstein's armor there, and
Right.
it's theorized that he went to find Gwyn's son, and like he either died trying or the Nameless King killed him.
Hmm. Interesting.
That's
Cool,
that's
man.
where the law's at for that fight.
And why are they in the same room together?
Oh man. So I think they're there to protect Guinevere, the
Right.
princess. But I can't remember if that was like part of a setup so that whoever could, you know, beat Ornstein and Smo was basically proving themselves as
Right.
worthy to overtake Gwyn. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think like they were protecting her from being killed, even though you can kill her. I think it was more of a like test type scenario.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. It's just for that reason alone, this game makes my number 9 spot.
Beautiful. Love that.
I mean, the game does incredible things as well. Like it's just wild in terms of the stuff that introduced for the whole formula. Like people think of Souls-like games, and this is the game that sort of begun all of that. I mean, Demon Souls was kind of like the baby child, but Dark Souls 1 really set the tone for so many clones and so many types of this style of game going forward. So, yeah,
Yeah. Huge number nine.
huge.
All right, trundling along here. My number
Hmm.
nine is Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh,
Yeah, so I've got a bit of an interesting relationship with this game, because when you moved in, it was one of the first games you put in my lap. and I think
Right.
it was after Bioshock and Dead Space.
Yeah.
And, you know, after those recommendations, I was kind of in your hands. I was like, all right, this game knows
Right.
what's up. And that first time I played it, I hated it. It was I'd never heard of Metal Gear Solid. I was
Yeah.
skipping cutscenes. Like I got all the way up to the final fist fight with Liquid, and
Yeah.
I lost, and then I just put it down. Like I did not give a shit about that game. I
Yeah.
thought it was so bad. Um, and then 5 or 6 years later, you and I decide we're gonna play all of the Metal Gears in a row. So we played 1, 2, 3, 4 Ground Zeroes in the lead up to the release of 5, and we recorded a podcast.
Yeah. Which I think is
Psycast
still out there.
Mantajag. Is it?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's still out there. Yeah. Psychos Mantajack. Yeah. Go look it up. I don't know who's hosting it, but you should be able to find it.
Oh my god, that's funny. Um, and yeah, you know, I watched like the YouTube movies for the games we couldn't play, like Peace Walker and all that kind of shit. Like I was just
Hmm.
so into Metal Gear Solid. But when the time came for me to play 4, I played most of it with Phoebe watching, and it was just it's just amazing. Like the
Mm.
attention to detail, the cinematography during cutscenes, the way the story unfolds. Like again, it's just like they use multiple perspectives. Like there's
Yeah.
scenes with Liquid, you play as Raiden, um, and the gameplay is super original and varied, and it's got that Metal Gear flavor where you can do all kinds of wacky shit as long as you've got this like, you know, thorough understanding of the systems.
Yeah.
And oh man, I cried a lot during that game. There are a lot of story beats, and I just remember playing it and thinking how wrong I was to think this game was as trash as I thought it was. And oh man, yeah, it just did so many things, and all the story twists. Like the final cutscene goes for like 80 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's so good. Like there's so much closure, and then like the credits start rolling, and you're like, that was amazing. And then Big Boss is credited, and you're like, but Big Boss wasn't in this game. And then there's another cutscene, and there's closure around that, and oh
Yeah.
fuck yeah, I loved the shit out of that game.
Yeah. 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 I think that game really does an amazing job of wrapping up the Metal Gear series. And I think
Mm,
your first experience with it, being feeling like it was no good, is totally valid because you had no context for the other parts of the series. And
yeah, and
I
it's
think, sorry, you go.
sorry, go on.
No, you go. You go.
It's totally a sequel in every right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it's just you couldn't hope to understand what was going on without all of the context you get from playing all those other Metal Gears.
Yeah, yeah. I had not, and I still enjoyed playing 4. I think I just really liked the way the war economy worked, and like running around as
Mm.
Snake felt cool, and I liked the tech around with all the like octo camo stuff, and the beauties being interesting boss fights, and I just like it's on its own. I felt like it was fine, but yeah, when I went back and played it again after playing 1, 2, and 3, I was like, yeah, this is pretty special.
Yeah, and this is one of those instances where I will admit that Metal Gear Solid 3 is the better game. Like objectively, I think the focus is tighter, and it does a bunch of things that are fantastic, but I just love Metal Gear Solid 4 so much. I love how the character arcs come to an end, and I love just like how emotional everything is. You know,
Mm,
so many of the characters are at the end of their tether,
yeah.
and oh man, that like that final, you know, again, like revisiting that final fist fight with Liquid, where he screams Liquid. Like I
Yeah.
did that fight the first time with tears in my eyes. You know, I was just like, oh god,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people give Metal Gear some guff for being completely incomprehensible, which on its face, each individual game is a little bit, maybe except for one, because there's so much like weird technology and crazy bosses and like there is some incomprehensible elements to it, but once you have the context, it's very special.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. So, we've talked about 4 games. Uh,
We should have done a top 5. It's top 10 was too much. You love
Yeah.
lists too much, Darian.
I was like, let's do a top 10 and then like 5 honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. We ain't getting to those.
Oh my fucking lord. We'll try and make this a 2-parter though, because there has been a bit of crossover. Like, Titanfall 2 is on mine and Dark Souls is on mine. So let's see if we can get through our number 8s and hopefully there's some crossover again, and then we'll be all set for next week.
Yeah, sick. We're skipping the news as well this week, by the way. There's no news.
All right, no news.
No news.
All right, what have you got at number 8?
Number 8 is Journey.
Oh, okay, yeah. Tell me your story.
Yeah, Journey is probably one of the first video games that made me cry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I would class it as like an indie game by who did Journey? It's that game company?
The Flow
Yeah.
people.
And so Journey for me is such an ideal, perfect example of a video game that has fantastic cohesive art direction. Everything in that game fits and is right for that style of game. Yeah. Visually, it's nothing. It's not like they've got like crazy like ray trace reflections or like ridiculous animations or anything like that. It doesn't have any of that stuff. It doesn't even have like crazy high resolution textures. All of the shadow maps in that game were painted by hand. They're not like real shadows, no real time shadows.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like the fuck. It's not like all of these elements on their own are kind of like crappy or like low rent or whatever, but together the vision is so strong that it's just striking the whole time that you're playing it. There's like beautiful, breathtaking vistas, moments of self-reflection. There's kind of like an interesting co-op system where you can be joined randomly by other players who are at similar points in the game to you. There's no way to communicate with them except for making a noise, which is just a single button input. They can show you around, or you can show them around. There's sort of like this really friendly. I feel like it's what like Kojima was going with for Death Stranding, to be like there's no negative interactions in this game, only positive. And so like it's like the like system a little bit, I guess, but in a way more stripped back way. Yeah. And just the whole ending is so triumphant and beautiful and interpretable. You know, people are like, oh, I died at the end, or oh, I ascended to heaven at the end, or oh, I was able to move on through. People assign their own grief to this character's experience at the certain points in the game, and I really love games that can do that, and I think it's so special. So yeah, that's why Journey is my number 8.
Oh, dude, that's great. Yeah, how much do you reckon nostalgia plays into that pick for you?
Good question. I haven't played Journey in a little while. Probably at least a few years.
Yeah,
and it's probably one of the only games on my list that I have played multiple times.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know is the answer to that question.
The reason I ask is because it's quite a different experience now for new Journey players. Like when that game came out and it was a PS3 exclusive, online was free, and it just meant you got that in like innate connection with other players, and like that feeling when you get to the end and you see the credits and it shows you how many people you played with. I was like, oh wow, that was 5 different people. I thought it was just 1 or 2 people, but no, it's like that really made it special for me, and it coincidentally really highlighted that it was about the journey. You know, it like you say, the interpretation element's really cool, but it was absolutely about like the secrets people knew when they showed you, and sometimes you'd meet like a white scarfed person and you'd be like, oh my god,
it's cool. I think maybe there is some nostalgia there. Like I'm sort of picking it based off of the memory of how I was feeling at the time of playing it.
Yeah.
But I think it's still a strong pick for my number 8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm keen to play it again and see, just look at it with my modern, 7 years animator experience eyes and be like, dissect it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I saw Phoebe replay it recently, like a couple of months ago,
Oh, nice.
and I gotta say, I don't feel it's aged.
Yeah,
Honestly, it just looks as beautiful as it always has, and the music. Oh my God, the music
yeah.
is just brilliant.
It was Austin Wintory's first sort of claim to fame, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, killer tracks.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of a game that has pretty good music, also number 8, The Witcher 3.
Very good. Tell me about your love of The Witcher 3.
I mean, I was so into video games when this game came out. It was like May 2015. I was depressed as fuck. Video games were all I had. I was like broke and my finances were fucked, but I bought the like $200 special edition. Like
I didn't know that.
that's where my life was at this
Right.
time. Like that financial year, I earned $24,000 before tax.
Oh,
Like I was 24 years old, and things were not good. However, I had The Witcher 3, and
that's all you need.
I that was all I needed at the time. And I'm not really sure like what drew me in initially, because I was very much someone who looked at IGN most days. I'd go to the website and all that kind of stuff. And I think I
Mm,
just had this hype around Witcher 3. And then when I started playing it, I feel like I had all these behaviors that just disappeared. Like I didn't check Reddit or do anything like that. Like I was just completely enveloped by the story and the
right.
characters. And there are some scenes in that game that will just stick with me forever.
Mm.
Like when you go to Crookback Bog and you meet the three witches,
Oh, the crones.
the crones. Oh my God! Like
Mm,
you've got that blind woman that communicates through the tapestry, and the music is so eerie
mm.
and evocative. And there are just so many moments in that game. And the thing probably that spoke to me most was the ability to make decisions and how it impacted the world. It really felt meaningful. And what I mean by that is sometimes, no matter what you did, things got really dark and really fucked up. And
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I loved that you could have good intentions and your actions would cause people pain, because
Yeah,
that's like real life.
that's real life, baby. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was maybe, I don't know if it was the first time I saw that, but it was the most impactful time that
Yeah.
I saw that. And I didn't have all of the issues with combat that I see critiqued quite a bit. I cranked the difficulty all the way up, and it just made combat more meaningful, and it made it more fun.
Yep.
Honestly, it was way more challenging, and it was not just hack and slash. Like you actually had to think about what you were doing and what you were gonna do next, because you could be dead pretty quickly on the high difficulty settings.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah, man. I actually don't have The Witcher on my list, but I'm glad you did, because I love that game as well, and it's real. It's one of those games that was like, man, this is huge. And the thing that I really liked about it was that the side quests a lot of the time weren't just like go and collect 3 boar skins. It was like they
Mm.
actually had some really cool little stories to them, which in some instances were more interesting than what was going on in the main story at the time. So yeah, I dug that about
Yeah, and some of the side characters had some of the best dialogue and writing in the game, like the Godling
that.
that you meet.
Yeah.
And oh man, that just incredible. Like this kid that has an amazing vocabulary, like
Mm.
way better than people did in that game, like NPCs and all that kind of thing. And it was just like oh my god, what else has this game got? And then you meet Dijkstra and
Yeah.
Radovid, and oh dude, it's just got so much to offer. And if it all wasn't enough, then a year later they came out with Hearts of Stone, and god damn, Gauntero Dim,
Gauntero Dim.
one of the best villains in video games.
Yeah.
And again, just with the like, you don't get to play as him or anything like that, but he's in it so much that you really have an appreciation for his perspective and his desire for chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, he is one of my favorite characters as well. Such a cool dude.
Oh my god. How good is talking about video games you love? I feel like we've been so rant heavy in previous episodes. This is just a great kind of mediator where we're just like, now it's time to talk about the love, man.
Yeah. There's no like confronting topics here. I don't have to like carefully step through my words and be really think about what I'm saying. I just get to like say the thing that I like. Talk about that for 5 minutes, and then
Oh, dude.
it's very good.
Yeah.
So did you want to go 10-20 over time, or did you want to just leave it here and try and finish the list next time?
Maybe we leave it here and try to finish the list next time, because I've already got 2 that you've crossed off, so I've got 5 more to talk about, and I can guarantee at least one of those is going to be on your list as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Hell yeah, man. Well, hopefully next time we can smash it out and get to the end of the list, because I'm real excited to talk about some of these that I think will probably not be on your list.
Oh yeah, see, this is where I think we're going to differ quite a bit. Like getting into that top 5 space, I think there's gonna be some divides in genre and that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And I think like I said before, the way you consume games is quite different to the way that I do. Like I said, many of these games I haven't played more than once, and
Right.
I don't really have much desire to play them again. Although
Right.
some of them I do. So yeah, it's a real mix and match. And so yeah, I'm keen to hear what your top ones are and why. Anyway,
Yeah, cool. And for our lovely listeners, if you've got a list you want to send us, I would love to read out random lists of your favorite top 10 games. Again, just games you enjoyed the most. It's
Yep.
like you can't chastise someone for their picks of games they enjoyed the most. When IGN comes out and they're like, these are the best games, we're like, no, they're not, you imbeciles.
Well,
But
the Metacritic list has Grand Theft Auto 5 in the top 10 or the top 20 like 3 times for the different consoles.
really,
Like it's just like this list is
God.
busted, dude.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love this.
Well,
Love
man,
this.
do you want to wrap us up as you always do?
Yeah, let's wrap this shit up. We're going to see you all when it's almost the weekend again, and we hope you have a really, really nice weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.